Welcome to the CEO Insider Podcast, powered by YTexas. My name is Sandy McIlree. This is Ed Curtis.
Sandy, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Well, I'm excited. We have a guest on today. Lindsay Wilson is the president of Corgan. For those of you who don't know about Corgan, they're a top 10 U.S. architectural and design firm. They're 82-year history in Dallas-Fort Worth as a headquartered company, the largest employer in the West End. I just learned that. Wow. And they've got about 700 employees worldwide. And Lindsay and I know each other because we graduated Leadership Dallas together.
That's right.
Remember, 2012.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best class ever.
That's right. Yeah. Every class says it, right? But
Yes,
we were the best ever. But no, we're excited to have you on. Obviously, Corgan and what you folks do for a living, your involvement in the Dallas-Fort Worth with the DFW Airport and other large corporate headquarters. We're really interested to finding out what you're seeing out there in the market as it relates to your industry. So share with us.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. These are interesting times for sure. And when you're in a highly collaborative business like architecture and design, we've certainly been shifting our focus and our ways of working really, really quickly over the past 2 weeks to keep that collaborative work style going with each other and with our clients. So I can talk a little bit about some of our changes internally first, if you want me to, and then
Sure.
we can talk about client impact. One, I will say we've been very, very thankful of all of our technology investments that we've made over the past couple of years, and they were all really tested over the past couple of weeks with great results. And so just seeing all of our people come together like so many organizations have, and kind of test the limits of remote work and everything goes smoothly has been a point of pride, certainly, for our organization. And then I've really enjoyed watching people find new ways to do things so quickly. A key part of the design process is always that first initial kind of visioning, idea sharing with our clients. And our workplace strategy team was able to digitize all those tools, find some new software to use, and create an interactive virtual session just within a matter of days, which was really cool. And we'll be using it with a brand new client this week. So just small things like that, small victories. It's great to see the technology work. And then our people, there was tons of virtual happy hours last Friday and virtual coffees happening every morning as teams kind of get together. So the technology tools that we've always had, really watching those come into play. It's cool.
Yeah, I would think with architects and designers and all the CAD software you use, there's a lot of creativity going on.
Yeah, there definitely is. And we have a group within Corgan that we call the Media Lab. They've been a part of Corgan for 20 years, really starting with what you think of as basic kind of renderings and artist visualizations. But over the years, they've really moved into being our storytellers. So
Right.
Making videos, doing AR and VR. And so that team is really thinking through how can we use AR, if we can only send one person to a job site, how can we use our tools to then transport the rest of the team there in an augmented reality so that we can still have a bigger site visit, even if we only have one actual person there in order to keep everybody safe. So those tools are going to come into play in the coming weeks as well.
Yeah, we're finding a lot of things that people may have been sitting on are now kind of coming to fruition, AI being one. Obviously, with your industry, I'm sure you've been looking into AI and VR and augmented reality of all different sorts. But is this kind of accelerating that, you think?
It's definitely accelerating it and thinking about new ways we can use it, like the construction, kind of virtual construction site visit that I mentioned. So far, we've been fortunate, even in municipalities where there's a shelter in place, commercial construction, for the most part, has still been considered essential.
Right.
So projects are moving forward, but limiting the number of people that go to those sites for everyone's safety, we're really having to think differently about site observation and our responsibilities during that phase of the project. So the more we can use technology for that, the better.
Well, I know there's also there are parameters that you have to work around, even though you are an essential business and you have to continue. For instance, I heard, to move people in and out of a site, you have to move smaller groups of people. That must be very difficult, right?
Yes. So specifically at very large project sites, that's something that's being worked through. So you mentioned our involvement in the airport sector. So we work on terminal projects around the country and around the world. Those job sites, so in particular out at LAX, they move the workers in via bus. So they're having to completely rethink how they get the workers to the site, limiting the numbers on buses. They're obviously looking for ways to bring parking in closer so that they can change just the transport to the site. Once they actually get on site on these really massive projects, keeping people 6 feet away from each other is not that much of a challenge once you get them there. Mm-hmm. So you're right. The logistics that we've taken for granted are having to be analyzed on really large projects for sure.
Yeah. Now, infrastructures, and I'm sorry, go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the municipalities, I would say in the coming, not knowing how long this is going to continue, that is one of the things we're really watching. So obviously we're reliant on building inspection, we're reliant on the permitting departments and each municipality kind of looking at essential services and able to keep those parts of the workflow going is going to be more and more important as this extends on.
That's a great point, because you and I were just talking about the difference between Dallas and Austin and when our lockdown periods begin. I could imagine what that's like for different states and different markets. One of the big pieces of federal legislation that might come through if they figure out how to work together is the infrastructure investment. And obviously you're involved in that and have been involved with infrastructure. Do you see that? How do you see that playing out with all this?
Well, so a couple things. So aviation is one of our sectors, and a lot of airport projects now are public-private partnerships. So watching both the health of the airlines and how is that going to be dealt with in the government package, and also public infrastructure projects. I mean, the ability for public and private industry to continue to work together. That's how a lot of these airport infrastructure projects have moved forward with the speed that they have in the past, 5 to 10 years. So we're certainly watching how both sides of that are going to be able to continue. Secondly, a very large sector for us is education, both higher ed, but we have a really long history in K through 12, and not knowing yet what's going to happen with bond packages that were set to be in the fall election cycle. Will they keep those bond packages in place, or will that move out? Will any infrastructure bills have any impact on that kind of continued development in our education sector? We're certainly keeping an eye on that, and we just don't know yet.
Yeah, we can't forget about that, because before all of this, that was high priority for the state and obviously for the whole country. But it's the talent gap and the talent pipeline and getting these students to listen. Now our world is changing even more. So you could imagine, what these students need to be adapting to in this new world.
Well, and as you so often are talking about in your work, the relocation and the growth of the Texas business community leads to families moving here, which leads in areas that have been high growth, have had a constant kind of cycle of building and renovating their schools to keep up. And so I certainly believe people will continue to move to Texas. And so we need to keep up that continued growth of our education facilities as well. Yeah.
No, we have to keep the Texas economy moving and growing. What else is happening at Corgan? I mean, obviously you're involved in the community quite a bit with all of your employees and all the big projects you're working on. What are you seeing out there in the market on the goodwill side?
Well, on the goodwill side, our focus areas in all the communities where we work and live is on hunger and homelessness. So we certainly have been in communication with the organizations that we work with and support starting out with really honoring our 82nd birthday, which you mentioned. We were an 82-year-old company. Our birthday was last week. And so instead of obviously having a celebration in all of our offices, we made a donation to Feeding America. So more to come on that. We have 2 members of our HR team really actively working on that literally today.
Wow.
The other thing we're doing, we have a research group embedded in our organization, which we call Hugo, which is actually named after Hugo, Oklahoma, where our founder was born. People often ask why it's named Hugo. That's why. It's the beginning of the beginning. And we've really refocused the efforts of that team. And they're doing a deep dive into best practices for design in the times of a pandemic. So looking at our different sectors, looking at education, looking at aviation, we were already doing research in kind of the most frictionless check-in process that you could have at an airport. This will certainly advance that research. How can we make the check-in process? Can we make it touchless? Is that going to be possible? And there certainly will be more intention on that moving forward. And then my passion and my work for my whole career has been in the area of workplace. And we're having a lot of conversations about, you said it a few minutes ago, we're using all these tools that we've always had. How is this forced remote work in a mass scale going to impact companies' views on remote work when we come out on the other side of this?
Yeah, your calling is definitely at its tipping point. We're hearing this from everyone on the workforce on the workforce side. Well, I think, listen, Corgan, Sandy, we talked about this innovation, efficiency, how industries are approaching different ways to do business. I think is holding itself true here, especially with the what they're working on with the airport and efficiency getting people through.
Right. It's necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it's cool to see, and it's going to be interesting to see how things play out.
Well, and Lindsay obviously has been studying that long before now, right, Lindsay?
Right.
Yeah, and we never saw that we would be forced into everybody doing it at the same time. We certainly were recognizing the benefits of allowing flexibility, and all different generations at work needing flexibility for different reasons, whether they're caring for kids or elderly parents or have a side hustle that they need to do at other times of the day. So we were seeing it more from a choice, not from a necessity. So this certainly will pivot, I think, the discussion now that we've seen everybody work remotely from necessity. I would tell you, as a person who gets energy from being around other people and never had a desire to work from home, I see some challenges in it. And especially when we're having these kind of creative problem-solving conversations, I really want to be in the same room with the group of people, and the sketch paper and the pens and the computers and trying to solve a problem together. But we're figuring out ways to do it.
Yes. Yeah, we're all adapting. And I agree. I think being in the same room and collaborating with somebody across from you makes things easier. Well, listen, good luck with your 700 employee worldwide Zoom call tomorrow.
No. It's going to be a YouTube video.
There you go. That's probably
We're not going to try to Zoom 700 people.
That would be a good idea.
I think that would break the internet, as they say.
Everyone's screen would just be a little tiny speck. You would have been able to see everybody.
Yeah, we haven't typically been the kind of organization to do like a broadcast message.
Yeah.
We usually have the different leaders and different offices kind of deliver messages in person. So this will be new. Our CEO is going first. Scott Roosh is doing the first message. So it was easier to push him out there first. I'll see how he does, and then maybe I'll do the second message.
Well, listen, good luck with that. We really appreciate you having on. Corgan is a huge asset to the state of Texas and all the work you do, and we appreciate you having you on.
Well, thanks for having me. We love being a part of YTexas, and happy to contribute however we can.